So, measles, mumps, whooping cough, they're all illnesses you probably thought were a thing of the past, right? Think again. Perhaps you've seen the headlines, childhood diseases making a comeback, and it all comes down to vaccines. 20 or 30 years ago, they weren't a controversial topic. Vaccinating your kids, which is something you did, right? But now vaccinations stir up the hottest of debates. So the question is, should you or shouldn't you? Well, here's a look at the debate over protecting against pertussis.
It's a horrific sound of a deadly disease. Nationwide, whooping cough killed 9 babies last year, all 3 months of age or younger. The tragic ending for a disease that doctors contend is preventable.
Vaccinations have reduced the burden and severity of this illness in our community, but this is why it's tragic.
Dawn Richardson says not so fast.
Vaccines are a pharmaceutical drug that can help some people and they can also hurt some people.
Dawn is an advocate of the National Vaccine Information Center. It wants parents to be educated on the risks and benefits of vaccines.
Every single vaccine is able to cause a reaction that can cause injury or death in some children. Each child has a different immune system. They have a different family history, different genetics.
Pediatrician Dr. Marta Catalena says there is no vaccine or medication without side effects, but it is rare.
The majority of the side effects are self-limited. Maybe some pain, swelling at the site of the injection, and some low-grade fever for about 48 hours.
Instances of death are also rare, but infection in infants often leads to hospitalization and those severe coughing fits. Doctors argue immunization is key to prevention, but some counter, make sure it's best for you and your loved ones.
That sound just breaks my heart. Now, doctors say that if you want to protect your children from whooping cough, parents, caregivers, brothers, sisters, everybody needs to get the vaccination because infants can't get it until they're 2 months old. Lisa's got more now on these childhood diseases that are making a comeback.
Well, Jimmy, regardless of where you stand on vaccinations, the best thing you can do is arm yourself with the information you need to make sure you and everyone around you stays healthy. And joining us today to help us do that is Dr. James Cockey from the Wicomico County Health Department. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Now, Dr. Cockey, are you really seeing parents who are choosing not to have their children vaccinated?
It's not common, and for some things you can't go to school without it. For measles, mumps, and rubella, to enroll in school, careful records are kept, and we go aggressively to get kids vaccinated. Parents do occasionally refuse on religious grounds. Fortunately, in Wicomico County, it has not been real common, and we've been spared measles outbreaks. There are some places in the country where parental worry about side effects of vaccinations is greater, and fewer kids are protected. And then when measles comes in frequently from international travel, then it can spread very rapidly, and you can get many kids sick, as in California, where they're currently having a significant outbreak. But even the outbreak in California is in the 50s,
Right.
And before we had the effective vaccines, up to 500,000 kids would get sick in the United States per year with measles. So the concern now is that the numbers have been rising over the last couple of years. They're not at the horrible numbers from 50 years ago, but we worry that it's a sign that there's a less herd immunity, we call it, and that it may rise further.
Okay, so we just heard about whooping cough. It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's not that common, is it?
Whooping cough also remains uncommon. The numbers are higher than for measles, and whooping cough has been also found in adults, although because adults' airways are bigger, the symptoms are not as dramatic. And because adults can be a reservoir to get kids sick, and adults can also get sick themselves from the germ called Bordetella pertussis, it's now universally recommended that all adults, in addition to children, get the pertussis vaccine as part of what we call the Tdap vaccine. So every adult should have that once. And then after that, the current recommendations are adults don't get repeats. They get the repeat of the older so-called TD vaccine, although there's some debate that may change, and we may start recommending the pertussis every 10 years for adults too.
Right. But I mean, it is important though that the reason that they're very small cases or very small outbreaks is because people are getting vaccinated.
Right. Vaccination has been incredibly helpful. It's probably the most important public health impact of anything, far more than ICUs and coronary surgery. It has avoided, well, the CDC came out with numbers recently about the Vaccine for Children program, which expanded vaccine accessibility to all kids and not just to kids with insurance, and that's about 20 years old now. And they estimated that over 300 million illnesses have been avoided, several hundred thousand hospitalizations have been avoided, and somewhere around 50,000 deaths have been avoided because the routine vaccinations were made universally available regardless of ability to pay.
So what should parents know?
Get the vaccine unless there's some really strong reason, get the standard vaccinations unless there's a very, very strong reason not to. And some of the notions that are out there about the danger, particularly with autism, I think are very ill-founded, and the scientific research for it does not exist. It's been refuted, and that's not a good reason to expose your child to the dangers of not being vaccinated.
Dr. Kaki, thank you so much. And to read more on steps you can take to protect your children and loved ones, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. Well, adults need vaccines too. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends that all adults get a yearly flu shot. Every adult should get the Tdap vaccine once if they did not receive it as an adolescent to protect against whooping cough, and then a TD or tetanus diphtheria booster shot every 10 years. In addition, women should get the Tdap vaccine each time they are pregnant, preferably at 27 through 36 weeks. Well, our pets are like our babies too, so you want to make sure you take the necessary steps to take care of them as well. What are you feeding them? We'll learn more about a movement you may have heard of before, the farm to table movement. Find out how to incorporate it into Fido's food. And we're talking about your diet too, and why pumpkin is not just a fall food. How and why you should start incorporating it into your diet right now. Rachel Ray's talking food too, particularly how we pack our food when we're on the go. She shows us just how simple it can be. Delmarva Life will be right back.